Stacey, you often tell me that I'm like a bar of soap. And I say, is she trying to tell me I need to bathe? What is she trying to tell me? Tell me what you tell people that makes more sense than what I just said.
There's a lot to unpack there too. So first, I just want to address, I do see people flinch sometimes. I don't know how to sell myself, and that word sales is not comfortable for some people. And I say that's really not what it is. You're just explaining what you do and what you make happen. So don't let that scare you off. Once you understand, and most people don't, unfortunately or fortunately, that's what happens to successful people. Because as I said earlier, you get to where you are, and many times you didn't have to explain that. So it was just taken for granted. And maybe if you ask some of the people, well, why did you recruit me? Or why did you promote me? Or why did you hire me? You might get some germs of that. So I want to address that first. Now, my soap analogy, that's really because my brain works in analogies. So that's what I use to kind of explain why this is important. And the story I tell is Procter and Gamble is coming out with a new soap. Well, how many soaps are in the market? You go to the supermarket, there's a whole aisle full of soaps. How are they possibly going to get you to try a new soap when there's hundreds out there? They go to an ad agency, they go to Ogilvy, they come up with a strategy, a brand, a hook, a story. How am I going to differentiate you so that you want to try my soap when there's already 100 on the shelves? That's what this is. I always tell people, we're really an ad agency for senior executives because you're competing. Forget about the market stuff. Don't worry about that because even if it was a great market for you, you're still going to be competing against 100 other people at least. So you still have to differentiate yourself and garner interest to somebody to see your value and why they should at least meet with you. And then when they're meeting with you, you have to be able to articulate why you're a different soap than the other soaps on the market. Now, I hope you don't take offense to being a soap, but it is a good analogy to explain the situation you're in. And that's why it's not just about, they're not going to list the ingredients of the soap and expect you to buy it. They want to know what is the story and what are you going to do for me? If I pay you however much I'm going to pay for this soap, what do I get back? So, in that regard, that's why for you folks to differentiate yourself, you need to understand what makes you unique and what you make happen in companies. And by the way, Tony, we also talk about, we call that career insurance because I have people tell me a lot, I'm sick of my field. I've been in the restaurant business for 20 years. I don't want to be in the restaurant business or whatever it is. And you feel like you're locked in
Hmm.
to that job or even that industry. And when you get beyond that, and when you understand what you make happen in an organization and why people pay you a lot of money, I usually say, okay, you could go to Hill's Dog Food or you could go to Deloitte or you could go to any organization if you're able to articulate what you make happen, why people pay you a lot of money, and what you're going to do there and why you're unique. So it's very freeing to know your value proposition. It could help you expand your search and you could consider other things once you understand that. And like I said earlier, I often hear, I didn't even know I did that. And that's not what I was doing. And Tony, if you'll indulge me, I'll share a recent example.
Oh, please. Yeah.
So I was meeting with this fabulous woman, immensely successful. She was actually in nonprofits, and she has a very senior position as the chief of programs for the organization. And she told me she really wanted to go for a COO position, and she was open to profit or nonprofit. And she said, "That's my dream, Stacy, but I don't think I could really get there." And it was my pleasure to explain how she could absolutely get there for a number of reasons. Once she started to realize that what she was doing as chief of programs had so much operations right in there, and we could call out that she was actually functioning as an operations leader within her division. Then I uncovered that many years ago, she actually had operations positions. And she also had a JD and wasn't even using that in this job search. Now, what senior executive doesn't have an edge if they also have a law degree in the right position? So once we kind of walked through some of that, her eyes totally opened up to realize, yeah, I can do this. So it's a matter of how are you positioning and how are we going to call out your value in that regards, and then highlight that you got the goods in your career to actually make it happen. So instead of being afraid, oh, I have to sell myself, knowing this and understanding this, you're not selling yourself. You're just explaining to somebody what you do, what you make happen, and why they would want you.